Recording going. Good evening. It is Thursday, July 27th, 2024.
June 27th.
Right. June 27. My name is Carl Hummel. I remembered that much. Chair of the Conservation Commission. We have a quorum with one member online. The commissioners will now introduce themselves. Peter Coffin.
Leah Whiting.
Bob Sweet.
Susan Cahalan, Vice Chair.
Because the air conditioners are running, I'm going to, if you're leaning back, move the mic closer to you. Actually, yours is probably close enough. The first part of the meeting that we started doing is a section for good and welfare of the public, where if people wish to speak of matters that they have of concern or of interest to them that are relevant to the Conservation Commission. This is not something that we would take action on at this meeting, but it gives people an opportunity to raise our awareness of issues. So is there anyone online who, or in the audience, who wishes to say anything at this time? Okay. We will now go on to the public hearings. The first one is an RDA for 93 Harvard Avenue West. Is Bruce Bartlett here?
Good evening. My name is Raouf Mankarius with Alpha Omega Engineering, and I'm the design engineer for the project. Would you like if I share my screen or?
Isabella will work out who's going to make the presentation.
I will be doing that.
Okay, fine.
So we have, I cannot share my screen. Let me try that again. Can you see that?
Not yet.
Okay, so we have a failed septic system right here.
We can't see it yet. Hold on.
Sure.
Which screen did you share?
The
Oh, there you go.
I just added him as a presenter. He just didn't have permissions.
Thank you. So we have a
Still
failed
not
septic.
seeing it.
Can you see it?
Not yet.
Well,
Okay.
we can see it in fact, yes. Now we can. Great.
Okay, good. So we have this failed septic system right here, and here's a wetland right here, and this is a 50-foot buffer, and we're proposing to replace it with a new septic system that meets all Title V requirements. This is all in a grass area. We're not proposing to cut any trees, and we have erosion controls in place outside the 50-foot buffer mostly. We're no grading, no changing grade at all. It's just gonna be opening the ground, we put a new septic, and then we close it. We're not changing any grade on the site. The current system, I believe, is in the water table, and it's in failure, and we're trying to do that as fast as we can so we can avoid any sewage going into the wetland. Other than that, it's just a straightforward. We have straw wattles and silt fence will be surrounding the whole work area. And we have a stockpile area right here. It's also surrounded by erosion controls. If you just have any questions, let me know.
I have a question.
Okay, I heard Leah first. So Leah?
You said that you have erosion control set up mostly in the 50-foot buffer. And are you going to be bringing in heavy machinery to do this work?
Yes, septic system requires a heavy machinery, but the erosion controls are right here. So they are outside the 50-foot buffer, except right at the septic, the existing septic, so we can pump the septic out and remove it. But other than that, it's completely outside the 50-foot buffer, and there are no trees. This is a lawn area, so we're not cutting any trees.
Okay.
Bob?
You said that system failed because it's in the water table right now.
No, it's in failure. It's deep in the ground, but we dug. We believe that it might be in the water table because it's deep in the ground. But the new system will be higher and it will be above the water table. It will meet all the Title V requirements.
So are you adding elevation to the new system?
No, the new system will be already high based on the new design. It will meet the requirement. It will have a 4-foot separation to the groundwater.
What changes this system from the old system?
We don't know what kind of system. It's an old one, but the new one is a Quick 4 Plus chambers with double washed stones in between and wrapped in filter fabric. Uh, the the system is huge, but we got also a 40% reduction from the old systems. That's an approved by right with the state Title V. This type of system can get up to 40% reduction in size.
What system are you using, a Presby or what kind of system?
It's a Quick 4 chambers, Quick 4 Plus chambers, infiltrators.
And what are you gonna use in order to keep those chambers from sinking into the sand and creating a problem with it in the future?
They will not sink in the sand. They have a splash guard. They have a piece of plastic under, and they also will have double washed 1.5-inch double washed stones. And we also have 6-inch of coarse sand underneath. If you can see it right there. We have been using the system for many years. We never had an issue with it.
What's the status of the Board of Health approval of this particular installation?
We don't expect any issues. We submitted the plans. I mean, we're waiting for the approval, but there is no variances, so this should be a straightforward approval.
Okay, so Bob, Board of Health is going to probably be addressing questions you're having a whole lot more than we are. We can look and say whether we're okay with him working within the 100-foot buffer.
Okay, so that's what this is about more so than anything is.
Yes,
Just allow work there, not.
right.
It would be good to get the elevations that are there now and find out.
It's always a question, does someone go to the Board of Health and ask first, or do they come to us and ask first? Because if they went to the Board of Health and then they came and we said no, they'd have to go right back again. So the expectation is, if you look in the staff comments, and Isabella will be briefing us on it, the Mendon bylaw allows us to give an approval for what he wants to do because it's to replace something that's already there. And it's so he's allowed to work between 50 and 100 feet according to the bylaw. And so the request for a determination of applicability, we would actually say, yes, you're meeting this condition, and then he can go to the Board of Health and they will see, then they'll look at more of the questions you're asking about.
Okay.
We can ask, is the proposed septic system going to adversely impact the wetlands if it's a standard installation? And Peter, if you're familiar with whatever he's asking.
No, I have no problem with this. And it's an emergency repair. It's a
Yeah.
repair, right? And so it sounds like they are in the very fortunate situation. They can sneak in this new technology in the same and meet the 4-foot separation. That's kind of pretty amazing. The only question I have is, so you're not changing the elevation of the lawn?
No, everything will be the same. Yes.
Everything's
Yes.
because the water comes from the driveway over the septic towards the
Yes.
wetland, right? By sheet flow, kind of.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Shouldn't be a problem.
What size septic system is it? Is it a 4-bedroom house or a 2-bedroom or what size septic?
It's right here. It's actually a 6-bedroom house.
Oh.
So with a regular leach field, I mean, the old pipe and stone will be like much larger than that. So with the new technology, we can get much smaller.
Any other questions?
I'll make a motion to.
First, I want to have Isabella's comments.
Yeah, I had a question. In the request for determination, you clicked off or checked off confirmation of the wetland boundaries. But it looked like there was an intermittent stream flowing through the vegetated wetland. So I would recommend to the commission not to approve the wetland boundaries and just issue a positive 2B that wetland boundaries were not confirmed in the application, and then -3 and -6 to allow the work to commence outside of the 50-foot. But if you're okay with not confirming the boundaries.
Is that acceptable?
That's fine with us. I mean, the intermittent stream is inside the wetland, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, no problem. I mean, okay.
Okay, Isabella wrote up a very detailed suggested motion, which says exactly what we were just describing, if someone wants to make it.
I didn't get the memos.
Can I make a motion?
Don't all go,
Please.
somebody has
Okay,
to.
I will make a motion to approve the work proposed at 93 Hartford Ave West and issue a determination of applicability with a positive 2B and a -3 and 6 with the special conditions for a pre-construction erosion control meeting with the agent.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any further input? Okay, roll call vote. Start with Susan.
Susan, I.
Bye-bye.
Leah, I.
Peter, I.
Okay, that passes unanimously. Thank you for coming, and contact Isabella when you're ready for your pre-construction meeting.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, we'll now move on to Bob. Fred, yep, names, names. So my understanding is that we do not have DEP numbers for these two NOIs. Okay.
Not yet.
So what we will want to do is after we hear the presentation, then we want to continue them until we get the DEP numbers and any other input from their comments for us to review. Mr. Boyd?
Well, post board, but you have I was told not to bring it in. We don't do that anymore.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's a physical
Yeah,
copy
there's
on either
physical
side.
copies here.
Yeah, I'm old school.
Isabella, is there one online? Oh, is that what we're
Yes.
doing? Okay, good.
It's gonna be the one Bob has. Yeah.
About 13.
Not 13.
I got it right here.
Okay,
Let
lot
me-
13.
Let me officially say what this is. Agenda item, notice of intent for 24 Ralston Farm Drive, DEP number yet to be granted. Clearing, excavating, filling, grading, loaming and seeding consistent with construction of a single family house. Driveway, utilities, yard, air, septic system within 100 feet of a bordering vegetated wetland.
Right. This is lot 13, house number 24, Rawson Farm Drive. This is almost across the street from where Tyler comes into Rawson Farm. Rawson Farm we're working on the back section right now, and we're leaving Upton for last. This is a 4-bedroom house. It is a typical size for the development. It's what they've been building up there. You can see the septic we kept as far away from the wetlands as possible. We were able to get it out of the buffer zone, the leach system anyway. Our problem is, it's obvious we're encroaching in the no build with the building, and there is less of an encroachment, but nonetheless an encroachment in to the 25-foot no disturb zone. And this lot was cut out back in, we probably started in '05. By the time the subdivision was approved, it was approved back in '06 or '07, the latter part of '06, which is, we would never, with your buffers in the wetland bylaw, we would never cut out a lot like this. We have very little room to work with it under the current regulations. So we are requesting a waiver from those two buffers where we've tried to, in every way, to try and get that house as far away from the wetlands as we can, and the septic out of the buffer zone. So these encroachments do not result in any direct resource filling. This is truly site work. We do end up with a house in the 50-foot no build, but the rest of it will be vegetated and should pose no problem to the wetlands. There are many areas in this subdivision where the Conservation Commission historically has given us permission because of the age of this subdivision. We have a detention basin that has fill within 10 feet of a wetland, but the gain for that, environmentally, the gain for that detention basin outweighed keeping a vegetated slope 25 feet away from the wetlands. There was a lot of savings there in the amount of clearing and that type of thing. We view this as this is not going to have a detrimental effect in the long run. The erosion controls, the silt barrier needs to be kept in good repair throughout the course of this project. Just because we know we have some spillage in this area because it is the first stretch of road construction on some of the events that we had this past 6 months. The water came down the uncompleted drainage system in the street and overtopped the catch basins, and that water just went over into the lot. So there is going to be some cleanup, obviously. Anything within our hay bales, and I'd be interested in knowing what the results of the site walk were today. So that's basically it. And, I'm hoping we can get this leeway from strict compliance with the bylaw. There's not much else we can do. You can see it's pretty full.
Mr. Chair. Yep. So a couple things. One is, couldn't you shift the whole building like 5 feet to the west? I know you got grading coming out, but the septic, septic stays where it is, just a few feet. So that would be one question.
Well,
then,
you can, certainly you can, but we do have fill over there that goes closer.
I understand, and you got to keep filling your property, but it looks to me like you're catching it at 484 and you still got 10 feet you could to the property line. But that's not real. That's to be discussed. But my more concern is the swale on the other side, that you are creating a swale because you don't want the water to come in on the driveway. Why wouldn't the water go all the way down to the right? Are you creating a swale? Because it looks to me like you're bringing 486 on both sides. So you're keeping it low, swinging it around.
Yes, and it's necessary to have that water path because this you can see the wetlands is here, and I don't know if I could probably point it
But
out
if
to
you,
you.
well, if you didn't bring, create a swim, if you just. Why do you have to beef up this side? Why can't you just let it come off this way? I don't know, as opposed to bringing it all the way around, because you're bringing in fill here too, right? To create that
No.
46. No, you're digging that out?
What this.
Well, this is 48 here. It's 48 here, and that's 46 proposed. So, and they're 46, so is that most, that's the swales, a foot lower,
It's dish shape.
right, so it'd be 45 and a half or something.
Yeah.
Why? Is that existing grade, or why are you building that up? Why not
Well,
just go
right
up?
now, this contour is over here, it goes through the drive. I built this through the house. So what happens is, instead of taking the direct path, which you can see the contours here.
But see, we got this big old tree that probably sits on a knoll, right? Then you're wanting to bring it this way.
Yeah, you need to keep the water moving in order to get to the wetland. Now, this is lot 14, you probably maybe remember something about 14, but this wetland here continues off the property. And so all the land on both sides of that wetland sheds towards the wetland. So there is a natural flow from all directions. It's not defined per se. There probably are some deeper areas than others. However, the general flow of the water is towards the wetlands, and then it follows the wetland course and eventually turns into an intermittent stream further down. Right here, we have no defined channel.
Mr. Chair, if I could ask one more thing.
Well, before you get into more details, we're not going to issue anything tonight. Would you personally benefit from a site walk going out where you had a chance to talk to?
I
the
haven't
site
seen this.
manager?
No, I haven't seen.
So would you benefit from scheduling a site
Yes.
walk? in
Yes, I
this?
would.
Okay, so at that point, then I'd say we can defer any other questions to that site walk and,
Okay, well, just what, because
Yeah.
I've always been a stickler for 3-to-1 slopes, right, to maintain.
yeah.
But this is one instance where I would almost be tempted. No, just a little bit high, rather than bringing this fill in here, if you could like it 2-to-1, I don't know.
Well, you can't, the problem with going
know,
to 2-to-1 from 3-to-1 is you can't mow it.
Right,
All you can do is weed whack it.
so 2.5 to 1.
Or you
I know.
vegetation
It-
there.
3-to-1
I
sustain is
I
sustainable.
understand, but
So
You can
what
just
is,
make a
what is
vegetative
currently staked out there? I imagine there's the wetland flag.
Wetlands are flagged and we have a lot line between 12 and 13. Did you see a lot line on the left side?
Yeah, there's lot lines on both sides. There's also the building setback and the wetland flags are up.
Yeah.
Because I agree with Peter's question. The building setback, you don't have the building at the setback. There's a considerable amount of footage and so if we're out on the site, people would be able to point and say what the slope is and look at the wetlands and say whether it made sense to move the building or whether the building was okay where it is. Like I said, that's a conversation we can have on site.
Right, there is very little room between, for the grading between the lot line and the building. That 3-to-1, you gotta have a little bit of level area right at the house for a ladder.
Yep.
And then beyond that is gonna be vegetated. We would, 5 feet is, I suppose, can be viewed as 5 feet, but it really doesn't translate to 5 feet of savings of our encroachment into your buffer, because it's sideways to it. So you don't get, it's not a foot per foot. We may end up with saving 3 feet of fill. Before we would do that, I would prefer to have, just to give them a little buffer between the lots, because we have a short side yard of 20 feet, which isn't much.
Or a little stone wall sometimes rather than
I
filling
would
it up.
prefer cutting off the slope as much as we would save for that. Save it still, but have a short knee wall of just about a foot high is
Yes,
all you
that,
need.
that would be my comment that I will make now instead of at the sidewalk.
Susan's.
I own a piece of property where most of my backyard of my 3 acres is land underwater. This property, a lot of their parcel is wetlands. So the question would be, how do you tell a potential buyer, here's the part where you shouldn't expect to have grass. Here's where you really shouldn't go and disturb because it's considered a, bordering vegetative wetlands area. So yes, we would be, if you had a retaining wall or something else, if you propose that within the 25 or 50-foot buffer, we would say, is the benefit of having a permanent wall in the buffer zone makes sense because it would clearly delineate the wetland for the homeowner's benefit and also improve your 3-to-1 sloping arrangement. So we're open to that kind of conversation.
Mhm.
Brett, what's the minimum foundation to be off the septic box? Is it 10 feet?
The box,
So the side of the foundation to the septic box,
the leach area or the box?
the actual cement box,
E-box.
where everything goes into.
The septic tank,
Yeah,
10 feet.
right now you have 17. So if you pull that 7 feet further forward, you get yourself almost all the way out of the wetlands.
Well, not really. We have 17, but you can see it's going to that end room on the house. And there's another room that comes forward right next to the pipe, probably about 6 feet. And that's where we would have to measure the 10.
Now, can't you turn that box sideways and come out the side of it and go into
It's
the leach
better,
field?
a septic tank works better if you go the long ways. Yeah.
But, I mean, you're trying to fit it in, so there might need to be some some
Well,
concession.
but that would involve function of the septic system. I would never put it in a tank sideways if I had another option. And, it's, you can see we got that septic tank jammed up as close as you can to the D box. But everything is minimum going back.
You could actually almost push it further to the right. That would give you that separational space. You'd be able to pull it back. So if you went to the right, come to the front. But whoops. Because you got plenty of room on the right side lawn. It's, by the looks of this print right here, you actually, the closest point to the wetlands is not gonna change by moving it over. Then, like I said, then you can pull it that 7 feet further forward.
Well, the house would be cocked at probably about a 40-degree angle if you brought it forward as far as you can on the right. You wouldn't be able to bring it forward as far on the left. We do have to keep the septic system over there because we need 100 feet separation. We don't go right to the minimum with everything
No, I
because then
understand.
eventually someone's gonna make a mistake and something's gonna be closer to the.
Right, but you're trying to get out of the 50, is that the idea? Or
Trying to get out of what?
Out of the 25,
is the 50 that he's in, isn't it?
the
25 is the other one.
grading, yeah.
Yeah, the 25 is degrading, but I'm talking building in the 50. I mean, these are just questions I'm asking. I mean, I'm
Okay, so
interested.
I want to get the meetings moving along, and we know we're going to have another discussion about this at a
Susan
future.
has her hand raised.
Yep, Susan.
Hi, just a very quick question. I wasn't able to go on any site walks, nor can I go on any in the near future due to ankle surgery, but I just had a quick question. I was going through the photographs, and is the area that this is all proposed on, the area that's already been cleared, or is it in the woody area? And I'll save the rest of my questions for next time. I
Uh,
just,
it hasn't really been cleared besides the area directly in front of the road, Rawson Farm. But there is, following the lot line, as Fred described, there was that sedimentation event.
Yeah, I saw
So
that.
there's quite a bit of sediment following down this way.
okay,
Um,
I did see that. Okay,
yeah.
and I'll save the rest.
So-
Thank you.
There's two for Sylvan Springs. The other one's been cleared quite a bit. So it might be that one.
Okay.
But that tree can be saved. I haven't seen it, but that's a big old tree there, right? At the driveway.
I would say, you know, that's gonna have like 3 feet to fill up the trunk.
That tree is not.
We'll see it at the sidewalk.
All right.
You
So-
kill the roots, excavators, you kill the trees.
You know, the other thing here, Carl.
Yep.
Is the bylaw has no grandfathering clause for properties that were created prior to the enactment of the 25 and 50-foot buffer zones. This creates quite a problem for the older lots.
Yes,
You know, there's
you parceled
don't
out the
want-
subdivision, not
people are
expecting to have to do
spending
that.
like $1 million for these houses. They don't want it cocked like this. They don't, we do have to sell the houses.
Yep.
But with no grandfathering, every request, every encroachment is a formal waiver request to you.
Yep.
And it's too bad. I mean, this would be, we have these types of plans in areas where they don't have the buffer zone and where it's so obvious that you don't have much room to move things significantly. It's a problem, you know.
Yep.
Not one that we like to do. We like to keep it away from the wetlands if we can.
But this is the actual building with all the corners figured out.
Yep,
Yeah.
yes, it is.
Okay, so there's a motion in our extended.
I will
agenda.
make a motion.
Go ahead.
I make a motion to continue the public hearing for 24 Rawson Farm Drive. DEP,
ED.
yeah, TBD, to the next meeting on July 11th, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call. Susan?
Susan, I.
Leah, I.
Peter, I.
Okay, passes unanimously. Now we move on to 31 Ralston.
Rawson. Okay, 31.
Clear notice of intent, 31 Ralston Drive, DEP, clearing, excavating, act. Looks like the business before us is associated grading within it, the 25 to 50-foot no build zone.
Didn't really hear that. You say grading within the,
Grading within the 25 to 50-foot no build.
I don't
No,
believe
no.
we have that.
Okay, well, let's take a look
Yeah.
at the plan.
We don't have any grading. You know, we were able to just barely.
Well, the
Keep it-
driveway at the entrance is in the 25 to 50 foot, right?
That's, it goes right up to the 25-foot.
Right.
No disturb, right, but it doesn't go beyond it.
But it's within the 25 to 50 foot.
Oh, yeah, well, that's a no build, no structure. As I understand it.
Hard to see the wetlands on there. I don't see them here, even though I have everything. Hold on.
What's the drop on the grade, Fred? It's only
If you go look at
Only-
the printings, once they have,
4 feet.
Well, I have it in front
And
of me
that's
too,
25
here.
to 50.
they put magic marker colors on it.
In the 25 to
The
50.
wetlands there.
Yeah, it's only dropping 4 feet, right? Cause you're at 524.
Yeah, yep. It's gonna be flat when it
Well.
sits still, but yeah, right now there's 4 feet of pitch.
There's a hole right here.
So So elevation creates the need for a longer slope. So you can see we really tried to keep it down as much as possible.
Correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Although if you, a walkout on that, but yeah, it's, because there's a lot of fill coming in off that north side, right? You're bringing it from the top of the concrete as well.
Well, actually, you see the 532 elevation? That's right on the driveway, and right under it is the natural 532. We matched the grade so that we wouldn't have fill protruding beyond the buffer.
So it is a walkout on the western end? You say walkout, but I'm not seeing much for grade.
Are you talking about the house area?
Yeah, the house area.
Yeah, you have to stick that way in the back of the property, huh?
Hmm?
This one's going way in the back of the property, huh?
Not much choice.
No, that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
I mean, you could barely get the driveway in.
Yeah. But we were able to comply with the setbacks, so. A lot of grade on this property, a lot of grade left to right as you approach the house. You've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 feet of natural grade. That will be, that's why we have walkouts sometimes you can't, but it
It's a
cuts
hill.
down on the fill.
Oh, there's a lot.
I don't think they encountered ledge at all when they put the large boulders, but I don't think they had to blast for this.
This is just Visco Hill.
Yeah, it's mostly,
Right away, Rich?
it's mostly already cleared because, pond 4 is located below where the septic is in this area, so pretty much everything from the erosion control is already cleared. And, I have pictures.
You're bringing a lot, there's 8 feet of fill, that corner at the 528. That's a lot of fill.
Yeah. That's the highest fill that we have right there, right in front of the house. There's not much you can do with it.
Yeah, people
You
like
gotta
that
get to
house.
the front. Yeah.
So that's the
That's a bad
drainage
picture.
easement, the start of the drainage easement, the picture.
Yes, the drainage easement. That picture,
Yeah,
okay,
I
so
think-
that's the flared in.
I think that's a little bit shifted further than on the plan.
How, what did you use to determine?
I went off of so wetland flag, sorry, I have it measured.
Are they numbered?
Yeah, so the wetland flags didn't quite match up in that spot. And so it got to, it said, let me see, said A was next to or in the drainage easement when it looked,
A?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, back over here.
But I was right next to 2053. So then marked it on this one. That's what I was. From what it looked like, 2053 was right next to the start of the easement or the niche flare. But then I circled it, but it would have been, so that's the flag that was right next to it.
Because I mean, we staked the basin out, we staked the outlet control structure out, the flared end.
So it's-
But one thing you have to be careful with, and if the flags are numbered and they're numbered, we'll go check it. But you can see the wetlands is barely 10 feet across right here. So you have flags on both sides,
Yeah,
only 10 feet apart.
well, it says A here, but it looked, for me, it felt like A was further up, but maybe I just.
We'll check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll check it out and we'll let you know.
And then the erosion controls where the two stakes, the well site,
Mhm.
the erosion controls go on the upland side.
We haven't even flagged this.
Yeah,
erosion control yet. I don't think it's been installed.
they are there. Yeah.
Yeah. Check that out too.
Yeah.
By the time, by the time,
Uh,
we'll check the wetlands flags,
all,
we'll check the
Yeah.
hay bales.
all of the erosion controls are up there.
Okay.
That's a long line. Hay, are those all hay bales or silk fence?
Silt fence,
Sold.
silt fence and wattles.
What kind of silt fence are they using?
They have. the
We're
old
using,
ones.
let's see,
The plastic stuff, right, Fred?
yeah,
Supposed to be biodegradable.
yes.
Those have been up since December, I think. But so those were the two wells. Oh, I'm not sharing it anymore. Sorry. Those were what I think were the wells. And then facing towards pool 4, the fence
Okay,
is
what
on that far side. Those were the wells. I believe.
Okay, I'm gonna have to, and those, are they over where the well is gonna be installed?
I think so.
Okay, because I don't think we, unless, the crew did it while they were out there with something else, I didn't think we did that.
I think they did it when they started on pond 4.
Did they? Okay. Well, when they started Pond 4, I don't think this plan was actually done yet. But, you know, we have a May between the second gate. I think it was, I think they put the pond in before.
Is there value in
I
having,
don't know where the stakes came from.
is there value in having a site walk to this site as well?
They're across the street from each other.
Couldn't hurt.
Okay, so we will set up a time to do that. If it can be done at the same time as Shang's doing his SWIP investigation, that would be great. You get, then people can get a walk on the entire site as well as a site visit to these
Okay.
two sites.
Like
We,
you're walking-
we'd want to have somebody there too from our
Yes.
firm. Justin is, he's the crew chief.
Mhm.
And he knows what he's staked and what he hasn't staked.
Yes, so
So-
Isabella would schedule that and inform the commission when it was happening. So
I make a motion.
we'll continue this one, so yep.
I make a motion to continue the public hearing for 31 Rawson Farm Drive, DEP number to be determined, to the next meeting on July 11th, 2024.
Second.
When you get to the bathroom, take it off.
Okay. Let's see, so I think,
We have to make a motion to continue.
no, we just did. Now we have, is there a second?
I second.
Okay, so roll call vote.
Susan, I.
Bye-bye.
Leah, I.
Peter, I.
Passes unanimously. Fred, I think that's, we're finished with your repeating your things, okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, agenda item
We
number,
want to do that sidewalk.
I can, if you want to meet the Shang out there, I guess if we want to check the flags too. So I'll send an email to you or to all the parties.
Yeah.
Because I have Dan's email and Justin's.
We're checking locations. We should be the ones who, because we're surveyors.
I know Deshang goes on Fridays. I usually do visits on Thursdays, but if he only goes on Fridays, we could schedule for a Friday.
Wouldn't be bad to take care of both of them at the same time, so.
They're
Gets everybody.
right direction.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, agenda item number 7. Notice of intent for 220 Millville Street. Do we have a DEP number for this one? So applicant Kevin Lossler and Ferrera Building, Peter Lavoy. Construction of a single-family house, installation of new septic and all utilities servicing the new home, driveway, well, and associated grading within the 100-foot buffer. So Kevin, and you're Peter? Or is that what
I
you're
know.
here for?
I'm here for this, Mike Dean instead of Peter Lavoy.
Okay, go ahead. Isabella, you sharing or will Mike?
Yeah, whatever you prefer. I have my plan up if you'd like me to share my screen, if whatever you guys prefer.
You can do it if you want to.
Okay, take it away.
Okay, do
If you're,
I have to
or
have,
maybe I'll just do it then, in case I can't get the permission.
Try right-clicking on his name and seeing if you can make him a presenter.
Mike should be a presenter now.
okay, let me give it a shot.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you, Jason.
You got it.
You guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, that's good because I don't, but I have it up on. All right, so once again, my name is Mike Dean from DNL Design Group, here representing Lobisa and Ferrera Construction Corp. The project is referred to as 220 Millville Road. I know that we do not have a DEP file number as of yet, so I will just go through my presentation. So see my arrow here, this is Millville Road. Do you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay, north is kind of up to the page and slightly off to the right. So 220 Millville Road at the top of the plan. The project consists of a 2.35 acre single family house lot shown here in the yellow. Millville Road once again. The proposal is for the construction of a single family house shown here in the brown. The septic system shown here. The driveway to access from Millville down to the road, down to the house is shown here. And you can see towards the rear of the lot, the green is the wetland, the portion of the wetlands that are associated with this lot in this filing. You can see these lines here. Those are the buffer zones. The first one is the 25-foot buffer zone shown in the purple. Then we have the 50-foot buffer zone and the 100-foot buffer zone shown here. The outer buffer or the outermost purple from the wetlands. So you can clearly see that the house is just slightly out of the buffer zone, the 100-foot buffer zone. The system is positioned 100 feet out of the buffer zone or right on the edge. Portion of the driveway shown here and some associated grading will be within the 100-foot buffer zone. The closest point to the wetland is approximately 28, 29 feet shown in this area here. So once again, proposed house outside the buffer zone, septic outside the buffer zone, primarily some grading for the rear yard inside the 100-foot buffer zone. Closest point is 28 feet. Proposed wells shown here. And we also revised this plan that you're looking at with a comment from Isabella, the town's Conservation Commission agent, to relocate the foundation drain to the other side of the house. Originally, it was located on the other side. So we've revised that plan before tonight, and that's shown there as well. And that's pretty much it.
You have a 3-to-1 slope?
Yes, that's all 3-to-1 slope in here, correct.
Other questions? Okay, are you okay with us postponing this until we get a DEP number?
Yeah, I think that's what you guys do, so I really don't have much choice, so we have to do what we have to do. I wish we had the DEP file number,
Yeah.
but
Well, if you say, no, you don't want to wait, then the Concom votes, but then we look and say, do we have enough information to vote? And then if we vote no, then you have to start from scratch again. So that's
Yeah, no,
why
no,
we
not
work
a
at
problem.
I just wanted to make clear that you get to participate in this decision.
No, I think it's prudent to wait for a DEP file number and continue it to the next meeting
Okay.
because we don't want to have any unknowns pop up in between
Yep.
now and then start over from scratch. Absolutely not.
And you don't want us to issue something and then immediately get hit with a DEP appeal because they didn't like it. Okay, so someone make the
I
motion.
make a motion to continue the public hearing for 220 Millville, DEP to be TBD to the next meeting on July 11th, 2024.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call. Susan?
Susan, I.
Bye-bye.
Leah, I.
Either I.
Passes unanimously. Okay. We'll now move on to agenda item number 8. Notice of intent for 30 Misco Road, DEP 218-0836. Mike, are you here for this one as well?
Yes, I am.
Okay. This is a refiling of a notice of intent, and we held the public hearing for it back in December 2022. But because that is when Maya had to leave and I had COVID, we dodged the paperwork. And so therefore, unfortunately, we had conversations with DEP and town council, and they need to come back and have us do this again. So because of that, the chair is going to make a motion because we contributed to the problem. I move that we waive the filing and legal ad fees for 30 Misco Road, DEP 218-0836.
Second or?
Are they still have they been working this whole time?
No work has been done yet. I just wanted to I want to, as a good faith measure, to say we screwed up. I want to say that we're not going to charge him another round of money.
Gotcha.
So it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call. Susan? Nope, you're still muted.
Say aye, Susan.
Susan, I.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I wasn't here. Do
Okay, then
I?
abstain is the
Okay,
easiest.
abstain.
Either I.
I was there.
You can still vote in favor of not charging them more money.
But I don't know anything about this project, so.
Okay, so then you can abstain. Still it passes with one abstention then. Okay, so I reviewed the video. I don't know if you did as well. I was homesick with COVID. Peter, you were running that meeting, I think. And from what I can hear, we approved with 2 conditions. One of them was our usual put barriers around the wellhead. The other one was there was discussion of a split rail fence so that when the lot was completed, it would be very clear where the wetlands border was. We are not bound by that because it's another public hearing. I just wanted to say that's what we had a lengthy conversation when we reviewed the site. We do have new members, so this is a new NOI, so you're entitled and should feel free to continue to ask questions about the plan that you see before you now.
Mr. Chair, remind my faulty memory, the proposal was for a split rail fence where the existing 25 no disturb line is?
I don't know. I couldn't hear that part of the audio. And like I said, I wasn't here. There was some conversation about a split rail fence. So maybe as you look at the plan, it'll jog your memory.
Well, because it makes sense in that other that we're talking about. Here's a distinction. Here is the wetland. We want to
Yeah.
kind of delineate it. It still lets people use it and
Yes.
turtles move, but it's kind of
You're not
Like,
supposed
don't
to say
mow it.
what species.
well, no, rats and rabbits.
There's,
I have like,
oh, there's certainly, I just shooed 2 fawn that came up to my fence. So there's lots and lots of wildlife up here. All right, so Peter, we're ready for your, Mike, we're ready for your presentation.
Okay, I'll try to share the screen again.
We're seeing it.
Is that the new one there?
Yep.
Okay,
If you could,
thank you.
if you could zoom in on the house
Yeah.
area.
Yeah, I will. Okay, so once again, my name's Mike Dean with DNL Design Group here representing Thomas Clark. This project, as just previously mentioned, was in front of the commission. So some of the commission members may remember this, 30 Misco Road, sometimes referred to as 26 Misco Road.
That's my problem.
This was it for, the proposal was for a single family house lot shown here. Nothing has changed with the proposed house. The proposed septic system is shown in this area here. The setback from the system to the well pushes the well over in this area. You can see that there's some wetlands that come up along here in the green. There are the buffer zones. And we've done the best that we could with the wetlands that were flagged and with the front area of this lot, which was previously developed. This lot had a fairly good sized salt box house sitting up in this general area, I don't know, a couple feet off the roadway. That has since been removed, and this is essentially was the yard and a developed area. You can see some of the tree line work shown here. So we moved the house as far as we could away from the wetlands and the setback and where the system could fit. So once again, this was presented to the commission. The commission did in fact approve it. So we're back here because we never received the order of conditions, which was just an oversight on, several different viewpoints, or maybe I should have followed up as well. However, the proponent is trying to obtain a current order of conditions. There has been no work since just over a year ago when this was approved. Referring back to the requirements in the video, it was a post and rail fence from flag number 108 up to 115, which is down in this area that was kind of considered maybe the tightest to this house area here. So that's shown there. And then you can see the darker erosion control shown here around the well. And that's pretty much it. Once again, it was approved. We're just trying to obtain that order of conditions. And the DEP actually replied and said to just use that original DEP file number. I think Isabella is aware of that as well.
Well, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to accept if we can still get that split rail fence.
That's the plan.
Yes, it's on the plan here, shown in this area here.
You have to read, you have to do this.
Oh,
I talked with some of the butters about this,
Top line.
people who've moved into the neighborhood since then and explained what the situation was. I spoke with the applicant last week. His expectation is that if we approve this tonight and other permitting works, he expects to be building as the summer progresses, try and get some building done in the summer months.
you want the formal language here?
If there's any other discussion?
Well, Mike, did you get the chance to review the special conditions that I sent over?
No, I have not, but certainly if you could send that, and by the time we craft it, but I mean, if they're your standard order, special orders, I don't see why that would be an issue.
Yeah, but they're new.
Well,
They're
what,
standard residential though.
Okay.
the way it would work is the language that Isabella has carefully crafted in the sample motion is we approve this and then Isabella tidies up the loose ends with what they work out with the applicant.
So I'll make a motion to approve the notice of intent for 30 Misco Road, DEP number 2180836, and issue an order of conditions with special conditions as drafted by the agent.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Susan?
Susan, I.
Bye-bye.
Leah abstain.
Okay.
Your eye.
All right, passes with one abstention. Thank you for coming. And I'm sorry that we made you go through this pain again.
Okay, thank you for your time. Have a good night.
I'm going to pass over agenda item 9, 134 North, and see if we can wait until Mike gets here for that part. But we will move on to 10, 4549 Uxbridge Road, DEP 2180824. Review SWIP report and general discussions with the site manager. That's you. Yep.
Sorry, they're gonna come together.
Got you up here by 8 o'clock.
Good evening, everybody. Sean Reardon, Tetra Tech here on behalf of 4945 Uxbridge Road. So things are progressing along. Right now, we're doing a lot of the bulk excavation following the initial blasting. It's probably gonna come as a short period of subsequent blasting after a lot of the bulk materials removed and any other projections are showing after the heavier stuff on top is taking out. We submitted a SWIP report. I think everything's going well. All our changes have been taken pretty well and all things are good so far. Haven't heard back from EOT yet on our submittal to that, for that permit. Once we do, we're gonna roll those changes right into a resubmittal to you guys, but we'll let you know as soon as we do.
Question, how'd things go after the rain that we had?
Everything went great. I think the big thing is getting the base flow out of around the excavation. So basically all that flow is now, it doesn't have to be treated. It doesn't have to be compromised by the excavation around it. So everything's been going great.
Okay.
We still have to do the work in August once it dries out to figure out what, if anything, got left behind by the original problems we had. But aside from that, everything seems to be going well.
When was the SWIP report submitted?
It was Friday.
Before the rain or after the rain?
They sent one Sunday, so that, I mean, it thundered that whole weekend.
Yeah, it did.
Um,
Yeah.
And he
Okay.
went out during the storm, so it looked fine.
Okay, good.
And I usually get a panic call if something happens. So
What's the status of the pulling the silt out once it dries up and we stop having thunderstorms? And
you mean the mitigation work that we talked about in the field?
Mitigation
I think we still have to wait
review.
until later in the summer for that, until everything dries out pretty.
So the SWIP person is going to wait and say when it's dry enough and then make a call and then we'd spring into.
Yeah, and I think at earliest, that would be the end of July, probably early August.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions about 4549 Uxbridge?
Were they storing all the material that they're blasting? They live there right on site, bringing it up on top of the hill or?
I think they're processing up on top of the hill, but I'm not sure. I'll check on that.
I thought that was taken out.
It was, but I'm not sure where it's going right now. It might just be getting moved. I think a lot of it is just breaking it up with hammers right now.
It's out back.
Well, yeah, because the blasting just loosens it, so it creates fissures, and then they have to hammer it out. Yep.
In case I get a call from the abutters, how many more days, weeks of blasting and
So we're not blasting right now,
jackhammering?
just jackhammering now, but the execution is you do the bulk blasting, then you clean out all the material that was dislodged, for lack of a better word. Then if there's stuff left behind, we have to go back and do some more sort of
Okay.
tailored blasting
So
and
is-
some work for trenching as well.
So has the 45-day clock started or?
Hasn't yet, no,
Okay,
because
great.
we haven't finished blasting yet.
Okay,
Yep.
and as we've discussed here and at the Board of Health, the Board of Health is working with you on any questions that may arise as to the amount of testing in the future.
Yeah, and Colleen's been emailing me questions every once in a while when she fields questions from the neighborhood, so I've been giving her as much information as I can.
Okay. All right, and as I said, we will keep you on, I figure I'll wait at least until 8:30 to give Mike another 25 minutes to get here.
Okay.
All right, so agenda item number 11, 1 North Avenue, review special permit application for the planning board abutting the Muddy Brook North Conservation Area. I want to make clear that for this conversation, we are not acting as a conservation commission that is enforcing the Mendon bylaw and the Wetlands Protection Act. For this, the town is an abutter. The town-owned land is adjacent within the radius of the parcel. The Concom is the board within town government that is responsible for oversight of conservation areas. So for this matter, we don't get to dictate what we normally do because the proposed plan is not within jurisdiction. It's not within 100 feet of a buffer zone. It's not within a BVD or floodplain or anything. Instead, we're here to say, so this plan, this building and the construction you're doing, is it going to impact the conservation uses of the land? And is it something the town needs to be concerned about? So with that respect, we can do one of two things after we have a discussion. If the Concom feels that we should, as a board, be making comments to the planning board, then we would have that motion. Isabella will write it up and then give it to the planning board people. If we vote against doing that, individual commissioners are still entitled to go and provide their opinion, but it's not on behalf of the entire board. So we have had some review comments where people, Isabella and I were looking at it before. Isabella, can you talk about what your review comments are?
Isabella's this way.
Sorry, Leah. Names.
As opposed to the landscaping?
Yeah, your input on their landscaping plans and suggested seed mixes and things.
I think there's some non-natives in their plans that are easily replaced by natives. They don't have a ton of landscaping. So I would have liked to have seen more. And I gave Isabella all my notes. I'd like for them to seed with clover and grass for any lawn or turf, 40 to 60%, 40 clover, 60% lawn at least. And if they can replace some of those non-natives with natives, that will help.
I reviewed the plans and my comment is over the past couple of years, there's been discussion in town about maybe eventually having a trail that would allow people to exercise use on the conservation land. Isabella, can you bring up the GIS locus, the GIS map, so we can say, get an idea of where our conservation area is?
Is that the one that runs
Right down that's what I'm asking you to
But
bring
that's
up.
only 200 feet deep, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, it is at the part where,
Lifetime
They are.
preservation easement.
but then Muddy Brook, we go way back. So
Correct.
that's where I'm hoping Isabella can bring up the map.
And that's 200 feet on each side.
Right. So what I was looking at this and I'm saying, at some point, people are going to want to walk. So, here's the proposed lot. They're planning on putting a bank building by the intersection, and one-story retail building. Square. Nobody knows who owns it.
It's part, no,
It's the conservation easement, but we don't know.
it's part of the easement, actually. So
And we own this stretch of land, which is kind of scrubby, and then Muddy Brook goes back here. And there has been plans, so the question is, people don't want to park on the side of Route 16. It is open for recreation, passive recreational use. So my comment was, what if people are going to want to park and then walk down the trail? And so we could ask the planning board to talk to the applicant about how do you feel about public use of your parking lot? And if necessary, maybe you get an extra parking space or two for people to park here, walk the trails. Feedback I got from talking with other people around staff is this is something for Parks and Recreation, Land Use, other committees to talk about because they're in charge of recreation. We have negotiated with another abutter on another side of this where they did agree to put in some parking for it. So what I would ask is to say that the planning board look at recreational use of our conservation land, and if appropriate, speak with the applicant about maybe making a couple of extra parking spaces or getting some kind of permission from the site owner to let people park there and then do recreation. My other point was, you're building a new parking lot in the center of town. Have you thought about putting in EV charging stations? We put one in just down there. It would certainly be helpful for people who are trying to sell cars at Imperial Auto if they can say, why, yes, there's a very conveniently located EV charging station that you could use if you buy the car and you're living in town or need to come here and charge it. So that would be my other thing for the planning board to bring up with the applicant.
I have one other thing.
Okay, so you have a third one?
Well, there's some two really mature oak trees on that lot. Are they just cutting them down?
No, I don't think so. I think they're
Are they gonna leave
preserving.
them? Okay,
I think it's marked on there that they're keeping at least the ones on the road.
that would be good.
So that,
At least three of them staying.
Right.
Yep. so that's the
Others.
feedback that I had after reviewing the planning board presentation. Do other people have things that they'd wish to bring up?
I'd just make a comment on the open space. There's no trails open. It's not open for access, public access yet. And the storage units did donate open space during that negotiation, so parking will be more down here. And I think the proposed trails right now that are looking at maybe connecting North Ave or the Maple Farm up here.
Oh, yeah.
There's proposed trails to potentially
Do
go from
that.
Hopedale over here and through. And then potentially having parking on the town's lot here. So I don't know if any trail would ever come up this close to Route 16 or if it would wind its way down here. That's what was being engineered with the senior center complex. So that was just my only feedback on the parking.
It's not a very big ask. The planning board, as in a butter, we're giving feedback to the planning board. The planning board would then deliberate and decide whether they wanted to pay attention to our feedback or not. So anybody else?
The other comments, that looks mighty steep slope. So we're back to this 3-to-1 slope. Now for Concom, it's to make it so that you can cut it so it won't erode. But other than that, why not have a steeper slope and let it go crazy, ugly, and don't mow it versus, and this also looks pretty steep. So I don't know, the devil's in the details, but
Okay.
steep slopes are a concern.
Yep, and they may just want to have a fence at the parking lot to keep people parking there from falling over.
Aren't we gonna lose some of that conservation land once they widen the road, though?
That'll be part of the Route 16 project in 3 to 8 years.
No, it'll have to stay in the right of way. I don't think they're taking.
So,
land.
the question, are people interested in having the Concom as a whole make write up something that we were just talking about and have that as the board asking, these being our review comments?
Not necessarily. I authorize the agent to make some coaching
Right, well,
comments.
that's what the motion would be. I'm saying, do people object? I
No,
want to make sure
I
that
think that's good. We
before
can do it
someone
as a
makes a
Concom.
motion, that we can just not have any further discussion about it.
I make a motion
Okay, go ahead.
for the agent to provide the planning board with the review comments as previously discussed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Susan?
Susan, I.
Leah, I.
Peter, I.
Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you.
Hey, sorry. I had my hand up before,
Uh-oh.
but it's already
Susan,
gone.
Susan, go, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just, could you, this document, is it still live or is it, pretty much close to completion? As to
No.
what they're planning near the Muddy Brook, because it's subject to NESHAP and biomaps and all of whatnot, so.
The planning board will be having a hearing on it, I think July 13th or
Okay,
sometime in the future.
okay, great. Thank you so much.
Okay, so Bob, what was your?
My question is, the planning board doesn't have to take our recommendations. We're just making them so that they're aware of our.
Right, it's the same way when we have a public hearing, abutters come in and tell us what they like and don't like, and then we listen to it and,
Ignore them.
well, I don't like ignoring people with pitchforks and torches who, are upset about something. I much prefer to try and work with the applicant and come up with something that meets people halfway. All right, Moving on to agenda item 12, review and approve the access agreement for the conservation restriction for Maple Farm. We have this item before us because a last minute piece of feedback from the lawyer working for the state was something technical. And we had a choice. We could either have a special meeting where we approved it again, or we could have this carved out as a separate thing. Isabella, I believe you talked to someone this morning and can give us details on what the actual paperwork is.
Yeah, I spoke with Leah, the director for Metacomet Land Trust. The perpetual access agreement pulls out the trails, the trail access. So if there were ever to be, you wanted to put a kiosk or more parking or different trails in, you could do it through the access agreement rather than this language in the CR. So this is just an addition at the end that allows for greater flexibility with the trails and public access.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be an additional signature page in the end of the CR.
See any problems with that?
So
Yeah, it doesn't do much else besides
No, doesn't look like it.
proposing the access and then giving Mendon, Metacomet, or the property owners the ability to maintain the access and plow and whatever.
Can we make a motion?
Yep, go
Okay.
ahead.
I make a motion to accept and approve the perpetual access agreement with James R. Vandersloot and Sherry Easel Vandersloot and the Metacomet Land Trust for the Maple Farm Conservation Restriction.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Susan?
Susan, I.
Bye-bye.
Leah, I.
Peter, aye. Passes unanimously. I asked, emailed Lisa this morning, so is it official yet? And she said, not yet. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, moving on to agenda item 13, 10 Old Taft Avenue. Discuss status of unpermitted retaining wall in the buffer zone of Lake Nipmuc.
Good evening. Amanda Cavalieri with Garrier and Howland here on behalf of Gregory Lambert, the property owner. We got notification, I believe, Isabella, you've been speaking with Kendra and Gregory, and we wanted to come in tonight. Gregory was unavailable, so wanted to find out what the discussion items were and what needs to happen to fix the situation.
Well, the situation is that we met last summer, and in one of our summer meetings, we agreed that there would be an amended order of conditions that had what the retaining, that included the retaining wall that was currently built. And then we would have a hearing as in an attempt to not just issue an enforcement order to take the wall out. And so we're trying to work with the applicant and say, we would like to have you present what the plan is. That was resolved last summer. And since then, we haven't gotten a plan. Isabella first notified Kendra back in, I believe, May, that we were looking for an update. And since then, we've just had repeated requests for postponement and haven't had someone come before us with a amended plan, but with a plan and a request for an amended OOC.
So on behalf of Garrier and Howland, I don't believe it was the applicant's intention to overlook the amended order. I believe this fell on G&H. So we apologize for that, for the applicant as well. And what we would like to do is work with the commission and work with the applicant and get the amended order in. My position with the company is the office manager out of the Franklin office. I've been with them for 7 years. So we're planning on getting this in. It got dropped. So this will be in. We would like to have until, the next hearing is July 11th. that correct?
Should be.
You meet once or
Yes,
twice in
it is.
July.
We meet July 11th and July 25th.
So I would respectfully request continuance to the July 25th. And at that time, we'll have something submitted and in. We may not be on for July 25th, but we'll have a butter notifications for an amended order of conditions for that.
At this point, I have no confidence in Kendra because she has done nothing except ask for delays and postponements. Is she? going
He
to
is
be-
no longer on the project.
Okay, that is sufficient for me to give you another 4 weeks to work on this.
Yes. And if we can get it in sooner, we'll get it in sooner. My goal would be July 11th, but we will have somebody at the July 11th meeting to give you an update.
Mr. Chair.
What I would say is Isabella and I will be preparing the agenda the week, the Monday before the Thursday. What we would reach out to you and get a status update from you, and you can tell Isabella if you're ready to meet with us in 2 weeks. And if not, give us a status on how you're doing with the documentation plans and things like that.
And we can even attend on Zoom if that's okay. You know, at least
Yes.
somebody, at least there's a representative here, whether it's Zoom or in person, to give an update.
Yeah, I'd note if you were planning to do a butter notification, you'd need that out next week. So that might be.
For an amended order, we do need a
Yeah.
notification, correct?
Actually,
I believe so.
It would be good because,
It's been dormant for so long.
well, that and this originally happened because of a report by a homeowner who lives on the lake. Hey, they're building a stone wall. There's an excavator within 25 feet of the lake. And this would give them a chance to be notified of it and then come in and hear what the presentation is.
Chair,
Yes.
just the history, because there is no order, right? We could have done an enforcement order,
Yeah.
tear down that wall.
Yes.
They said, no, we are entitled to file a notice. So we are saying, okay, bring it on.
That was last
But
year.
I would want to have some discussion as to, do you need the wall the whole length?
And
Or
that's-
what is,
That's
what is
That's
to
what
be?
I would
Yes.
expect we'd be hearing
well,
in 2 weeks.
there is still an open order of conditions for the house.
For the
So
house,
Not
okay.
for the wall.
We have a partial, so getting caught up to speed very quickly today. There was an open order. We have a partial certificate of compliance with the understanding that we were coming back for the amended order. That will happen within the next 4 weeks. And again, company reputation on the line, we will make sure we will be here. And the wall is there. So we will be permitting a wall that is there and discussing the location of, what was there in its place and, how it's been constructed, and we'll have presentation plans and
Yep.
show where everything is and go from there.
And
Yes.
Mr. Chair, it's coming back to me now. Besides the wall, it's that
There's
pipe.
There's a pipe coming out. that
Yes.
Peter is coming out with, and the other issue that we've discussed in the past that you should come up to speed on is whether part of the wall is extending into the neighbor's property.
Yes, so again, coming up to speed very quickly.
Yes.
The pipe, based on conversations with the applicant, and I do need to do a little bit more digging, but I do trust the applicant, is that the pipe was there. It was encountered during construction for the existing property, and it was repaired from where it was, and it's just exposed now. Again, I'd like to do my due diligence
Yep.
and double check that. I believe it's roof leaders, but again, that's just a quick visual of the site.
I didn't
And-
get a date on that.
Is it going
pipe.
to the
It
lake?
should be Stamped on the
The pipe?
side.
Yeah, so I was gonna take a look. I know they did a repair. I don't know how far back it was a repair, but it's always been going under the road.
Going into the lake.
And then
think it's-
the wall has been located and on a plan right now. If you're looking at the house, if you're looking at the water from the house, the wall is not on the right-hand property. It does encroach a little bit onto the property to the left-hand side, and the applicants had conversations with the property owner. They're aware that it's encroaching on that, and they have an understanding. Again, my understanding is they have an understanding, and I want to pull everything together so we have it in one document for the commission to look at the hearing.
And that's another reason to make it send out a
Yep.
butter notification so that
We can make sure that our understandings are correct.
at one meeting last summer, the two of them were in here starting to argue, and I had to say, nope, You gotta take it outside.
Outside.
Maybe to court if you can't settle it.
We'll make sure we address the pipe, the
Yeah.
wall encroachments, you know, and,
I assume you're coming in with a plot plan.
yes. Yep. So we'll show the existing
Good property
conditions.
boundaries.
Yes, so we have the existing conditions plan that was done, the Board of Health, and when the house was constructed, there's an as-built that was done. We're adding the wall to that, which we have located. So that will show again against the property lines and, be
Will you
presented in the
put
plan.
Water level on the plan.
The water level,
Like mean water level.
Yeah. we can do that.
I would, which is what I discussed with Kendra, but the mean annual high water line and the flood zone, the wall should be out of that. And then whether it meets the performance standards for bank, and bordering land subject to flooding. And then the height of the land behind the wall, whether that creates sheet flow directly into the lake.
What was the last one again? I apologize.
Whether it's sheet flow, yeah, over the wall.
Okay,
But I almost would want to close the old order conditions and have you file a retroactive notice of intent for the wall separate from the house. But I might reach out to DEP and work through the best way to move forward.
Best way to do it. Get rid of the old order conditions for the house, then pull out
Yep.
after the fact or conditions or notice of intent.
I figure you could work that out the next 4 weeks.
Yep, I can follow up and get better directions.
Is your email address on the website?
Yeah, it's just gonna be Genova, GENOVA at mendonma.gov.
Or Concom.
.com at mendonma.gov.
Okay, what I'll do is, I'll send you an email tomorrow with my contact information if you want to send over any of the email correspondence. And we can start that line of communication, figuring out how you want to file. And we can go from there.
Looks like the email I sent this morning triggered some action. I'm
I
glad.
did have red ink.
Actually, yes. I created a timeline saying it started back last May and then Isabella is now engaged. Please work with her. 5 months pass, large red font, and then the actions more recently. So yeah, there was a little bit of red ink in my email.
It takes a lot to get red ink, so.
So,
It's good that
and-
you came in.
Again, we apologize.
Okay.
And we'll clean up our act and get this resolved with the commission. And if there's any concerns or questions, anything in particular that you want us to address, please let us know. The applicant's very willing to work with.
Yes.
I think we let them down. We're
So
to address this. Yep.
Yeah,
Want to get it resolved for everybody, get it off the table.
Okay, well, thanks for coming and explaining the situation.
No problem.
Now that we will not be working with Kendra, we'll hopefully make more progress.
Yes. Perfect. All right. I'll be in touch with you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right, it's 8:30 and it's as much time as I'm going to give Mike and have Attorney Brodsky and Sean here waiting. So we will now move on to a discussion of 134 North Avenue. I discussed with Susan and Leah ahead of time, and as chair, I am recusing myself and delegating this part of the meeting. Peanut butter.
Okay, before we start, we're gonna use Robert's rules. Everyone asks me, and I will ask you. Does that make sense? Okay. Sean, do you want to have anything to fill us in on this?
Yeah, so just in the way of an update, we had our site visit last week.
I should say this is for 134 North Ave.
Yeah, we had a site visit last week. It was pretty well attended. Bobby were there, Leah, Peter was there, abutter Carl was there. Our representatives from our wetlands consultants were there, and Tim was there. So it was really well attended. I thought it was very productive. The end result was we agreed we're going to do some soil testing. Right now, we've been reaching out to what are called a geoprobe drilling consultant so that, that they do is they advance a 2-inch core so we can see exactly what that soil profile looks. We're planning on doing several transects. Trying to schedule that next week. Right now, we're just trying to hit a slot within their time schedule. So a little up in the air as to when it's going to be, but hoping it'll be sometime next week. We'll come back to you guys with that information in the form of a report from Goddard, and then hopefully we can sort of move on from there.
Okay, question. Isabella, is this something you could be there when they're doing the core samples?
I can be.
It's just weird when the applicant's doing the core samples, so that could get, I just want to make sure that we don't have any contention.
Yeah,
as
what we'll
to-
do is we'll take pictures of the cores as they come out of the ground. So, I mean, it's not a question of whether the information is not going to be available to you or made part of the report. So,
It's not like a pit that you got to witness and then fill back again.
Exactly.
You want to have that, for, yeah.
Yeah.
We do want to see where you're taking them from too.
yeah, we've got them, we'll have them survey located once they're done. But,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, there won't be very much left behind because it's just a 2-inch
Mhm.
driven core.
Mhm.
So it's just like a sort of about a 5 to 7 foot core sample of the upper soils.
They hit 7 feet, Sean, can't get to virgin soil. What do they do at that point?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, we're well below what the native ground was. So we're figuring at most there's 3 to 4 feet of fill in there. So by the time we get through that first 3 to 4 feet, we'd be down to any depth that it would have been below the water table anyway.
Isabella, do you have any recommendations on anything he said, core samples, anything like that?
I can be there if the commission wants me to, but depends on how many hours it is. I don't want to spend multiple days out there.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be a full day.
Yeah.
And the plan is that they're gonna arrive at 7 o'clock. We just said, we just marked it out for dig safe yesterday. But I mean, I'm not planning on being out there or anybody from our office. It's just the driller and the wetlands consultants, and then they'll log all the information. If they find something that's anomalous, they can adjust the program and take additional core or anything. So we've got the driller for the day. But my plan is to just let the wetlands folks do what they do, and then they're gonna issue the report. So I usually try to just let them collect their information and, issue their findings.
Why did you do dig safe?
Because you have to.
You have to.
Yes. Yeah. Anytime you're putting a hole in the ground. Yeah.
And you don't think we need a peer review to do core samples or anything like that? You feel safe?
No,
And
I mean, not unless we question it after the report, but I think they can issue the report.
Okay, that sounds good. I think that's the main thing we have to get done before we can do anything else, honestly. So, be good for that to happen sooner than later. And,
Now, we did have a conversation during the site visit about allowing some work to continue on the barn structure, principally carpentry work. So we submitted a formal request to see if that would be considered by the commission, and we'd like to, have a dialogue about that if there's any
Okay.
questions you have.
sure. Before I say anything, does anyone have a dialogue on whether they would feel comfortable having work done on the partially constructed, is it a barn?
Yep, it's a horse. We're
So-
calling it the horse barn.
Isabella, is it in a buffer zone or anything? How close? Well, we don't really know, do we? Because
Yeah.
we're not sure.
Because we don't know the historical line, I would, just with your letter, you wrote, no site work is proposed in the 100-foot buffer. And that will be marked in the field to ensure construction activities are outside of areas subject to jurisdiction. I would say without soil samples, we don't know where the historic line was. So without that information, I don't think it's appropriate for the commission to accept the letter as it stands, because the 100-foot buffer, it may or may not have been in what it was.
Well, I thought the expectation defined last week was that the conditions exist. The wetland has been delineated. So there is an existing wetland buffer line. I mean, a wetland delineation boundary. That is what it is, whether it changes, whether it needs to be mitigated because it existed in a different condition before. It exists as a wetland boundary right now. We have drawn a 100-foot buffer zone off of that. And, whether it changes or whether it, at present, the only wetland boundary that exists is the one that is evidenced out there today. That you guys reviewed the line. Whenever we refer to the wetland boundary, we're going to be referring to the current one as it exists. in the future, if we arrive at an agreement as to the mitigation, that line will change because we will be expanding it. It'll in all likelihood be in a direction. Well, necessarily it'll be slightly different than what originally it was. It's already proposed to be different than what it originally was. I thought we talked about that the other day as being an acceptable solution because it was only about 75 feet away. But
Is it my understanding- Oh,
Sorry.
Chairperson, is it my understanding that last week when we were at this site walk, it was mentioned that should this work be continued, then it's at the owner's caution, so that if it becomes a problem with the wetland line, then it's at your own risk.
There was a lot of discussion about different things. I'm not sure that all of us had the same feelings. But we do have an enforcement order, and I think that if we allow them to do work, we have to take that into consideration too, because we're kind of making that enforcement order different
Well,
if we do that.
not executing the enforcement order, I understand that. The enforcement order is still there. And that is because wetlands may or may not have been filled. But if they are to continue working on their property and find that it is an error, their understanding from us, I thought, was that should it need to be removed, it's their loss, not anybody else's. So whether or not your thinking on that is different, and, you know, at that point, having no work done means that it is less of a problem in the future. Just want to make sure that if there's no reason not to stop them, they don't have to stop. If there's a reason to stop them, then I'm fine with that too.
Or how long is it going to take? Oh, well, let me just finish my thought. How long is it going to take to get reports back on the soil?
So assuming we do the drilling next week, probably I would think in a week after that, but I can't speak to the schedule of the wetlands consultant. So I'm hoping that by the time we have our next hearing, we'll have some input back.
Okay.
The thought process, at least the way I understood it the other day, was so that is the area where we have pretty strong anecdotal evidence that, you know, both from abutter Carl and from, you know, the past history and the understanding of most of the people involved, that the wetland didn't extend to where that barn currently is. And it's probably about 60 feet or so, 70 feet or so away from where we're currently projecting the old wetland line to have been. So we think there's no conceivable scenario where we would ever propose mitigation that would involve moving that barn. You know, even as currently proposed and as we had prior discussed, you know, all the mitigation is likely to take place, or we're intending to take place on the opposite side of the property. So we feel there's little likelihood, if no likelihood, that anything would ever extend past that barn location. And we're just hoping that we've got a semi-erected structure. It's not complete, you know, in terms of fire risk, in terms of other risk. We'd certainly like to get it, you know.
But we'd only be waiting 2 weeks if we waited for the soil samples, and then we'd have more
That-
information.
Understood. Our goal was just to get carpenters back to work on it as quick as we could.
Okay, Susan or Peter, do you have any input on what Mr. Reardon is talking about with the barn construction?
Once we get that report in, I wouldn't be averse to letting them go, but unfortunately, that is the exact location where I am suspicious of. It's where those two properties came together, where that route was. So that is with the soils. After that, we can talk. So
Okay.
between now and 2 weeks out.
Madam Chairman, I believe that was the theory all along, is let's get the samples
Mhm.
in order to make any decisions, because that's going to give everybody peace of mind.
Okay, Susan, do you have any thoughts on this? And then I'll get to the audience.
Yeah, so, yeah, I believe that until we get delineate the hydric soils, it's really gonna be hard to determine where that historic line was. So,
Thank you, that's good input. Audience member, do you want to come up?
You know, if it does turn out to be
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Can you say your name, please?
Carl Hummel, 15 Misco Road. I wanted to make a comment on something that Bob said earlier. There has been wetlands that have been filled in. We have an existing plan from your engineers saying in the latest plot plan, here is what they are saying has been filled in the past 2 years, since the last time someone from the commission went out on site and looked at it. So that is an agreed to fact by the applicant and their engineers, that there have been wetlands fill. They are proposing remediation. The core samples are to determine whether their plan says this much wetland has been filled. The core samples say, was there more? But that's just for the purpose of replication. The site as it is now has an established wetland boundary. There's a nice slope going down to it with blueberry bushes. There's a wall there. So the expectation is that what's being determined by the core samples is how much replication needs to get place. And what Sean said earlier is, even if the core samples come back and the commission says, nope, you need to up the amount of replication, they're not going to replicate anywhere. They're not going to move closer to the barn. They're not going to take the area and make the part of the parcel moving towards Misco Road swampy. They're going to go the other direction. So right now, the building is not weather tight. It's, lots of birds, animals, bats, probably nesting or whatnot. So the applicant does have an interest in getting that building sealed up. And the question is the commission comfortable with them staying 100 feet away from the existing swamp that, is there now, and then there's the wall? And second, are they comfortable approving that work because they believe that any replication or restoration that would be happening would not require them to dismantle the barn?
I think that's very, very well put. So if we find out that we've actually filled more wetland than we had presumed, the logical place that we would extend our mitigation is beyond where we've currently defined it. So we'd have to take out some walls, we'd maybe take out some of the tennis court, we'd expand there. Under no circumstances would we expand that towards an already semi-constructed building. Correct. So and even less likely to expand the wetland adjacent to that area. So that 100-foot buffer zone is likely to stay in the current location that it is.
I think Isabella wants to say something.
Yeah, I think that's dependent on how much square footage we find needs to be replicated. If you run out of room in that northern edge, you will have to start encroaching and the buffer zone could change. And that's what the commission needs more information.
So what are we at now? 46?
Yeah.
And do we have
Oh.
a,
There a trigger point at like 5,000?
yeah, exactly.
No, we probably, we have that, in theory, we have that whole tennis court area. So we have probably 40,000 square feet on that side of the property that is of the least value because it's the most removed from the house. So in all cases, our mitigation is going to happen on the I guess it would be the eastern side of the property because that's further removed from the pool, further removed from the barn, further removed from the house. So, I don't see any conceivable scenario where we would do any work in and around the barn area for mitigation.
Can we take go ahead?
Yeah, just one more thing. I don't think there's been any construction since January.
Correct.
So is there more of a concern that's come up recently?
Yeah, we've got carpenters that aren't doing anything. So.
Well, we were ready to hear this case in January and take a site walk in January. We could have been all over this by now.
Understood.
But it was
we are,
last
we
week.
are. The request has just been made. If you.
2 weeks gonna kill you.
No, not at all. I think it's reasonable. So let's just continue on. But I mean, it has to start with us requesting. And as we discussed at the meeting the other day, it seemed like something that the commission was willing to consider and we'll just move forward based on what we have.
Okay. Do I need to make a motion or anything on this? Can we just say continue it for 2 weeks?
I think you could make a motion that you continue the request for 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I make a motion that we continue this to the next meeting and hopefully by then we have core samples and we'll have a little bit more information. Um,
Actually, the chair can't make the motion, but.
Oh,
let me
sorry.
Make the motion.
go ahead, I'm new at this.
It's okay that we will, respond to the letter when we get the soil samples, and that's hopefully at our next meeting.
We have a second.
So Peter makes a motion to what? Respond to the letter after the soil samples?
Yeah, basically put it off till our next meeting to have this discussion.
Just table the discussion.
Table the discussion.
Second then.
Okay, let's do roll call. Let's start with Susan.
Yeah, Susan,
Bye-bye.
Do I vote?
No,
Okay.
Peter, I. Chair does.
And I think that's
It,
Uh,
it,
enough.
say that if you want to, if you are in favor of it, then you say it passes unanimously.
okay. It passes unanimously.
So we'll see you in a couple weeks. I wouldn't expect anything much sooner than the hearing though, so but we'll get it to you as quick as we can.
Okay,
All right.
appreciate that.
All right, you guys, good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A slight correction, the chair can make motions, but by best practice and custom, we don't, because we're supposed to be impartial. I specifically made a motion to waive fees because it was my fault.
It's an administrative kind of.
Administrative thing. And it was someone who was out financially because we dropped the ball. All right, so,
Yeah.
Thanks, Peter. Thank you
Yep.
for being cooperative.
all
Appreciate
right,
it.
so moving on to item 14, 85 Millville Street, discuss ongoing encroachment violation abutting Meadowbrook Uplands Conservation Area. Consider installing a CR boundary marker.
Yeah, I got a call from the property owner this morning. She's agreed for a site visit Tuesday at 9 o'clock. She was a little upset because the previous chairman had said she didn't have to worry about it, and now we're back. There's no written. So I guess go from Tuesday.
Are you okay going alone? You want some company?
I'll go. I'm right around the corner.
Yeah, I think whoever wants to come is welcome to.
Send out the usual email and then text the night before. letting them-
What might be helpful though is if you got the minutes of our meeting when
Are
we
there?
discussed that, because the chair obviously didn't get the message correct from the minutes of our meeting as to what the commission voted a year ago, but
If there are minutes.
But she did confirm that the boundary stakes are still in there, so it's clear where it is. And she is aware she's mowing,
You're doing the haying of the field?
no, so it's her private property, but there is supposedly rhododendron bushes that the previous homeowner had planted right over the boundary line, so she mows up to the rhododendron because she believes she doesn't want to see that, grow scraggly. So I'm gonna maybe talk to Anne and get a little bit more information. But yeah, Tuesday at 9.
The goal is that moving forward, we are more impartial, even-handed, and equally obnoxious to people who have property that we have conservation restrictions on. And we are not playing favorites and saying, well, you can violate the terms of the CR and yeah. So this will be part of our, so I will, another issue is the Mr.
Manusian.
Menusian, what's the status of us scheduling a site walk on his property?
I sent him a letter as well, so he was required to call me, which I'm sure he will. He came, barging in as soon as he got the last letter. So
Okay,
I'll let, if it comes in, over the next, it wouldn't be next Thursday because that's the 4th of July, but if he calls early next week, I could schedule for the following Thursday, the day of the next meeting.
Okay.
So
all right. Moving on to agenda item 15, Meadowbrook Woods Conservation Area, 2 items. First, review and approve estimate from Beaver Solutions for a new beaver deceiver located at Wigwam, Brook. issue an emergency permit for such work.
I don't think it's a beaver deceiver. He has his own device.
Okay.
Beaver solution.
Yeah.
Solution device.
I don't know if you want to go through. So the estimate was for 2750, and we have enough to pay out of our contract services account. They gave, I think it was $270 off if people can help carry stuff into the woods on Monday. I can definitely go. So they said 2 to 4 people if anyone else wants to come. It would be parking. I don't have the exact time. I'll reach out tomorrow with the permits and the approval if you choose. And then would work with them to schedule the exact time, but I'm sure it would probably be 10-ish or later because John, who works with them, drives out from Western Mass. So I
I
don't
wonder
think
if some
he'd
of
be
the bike
here.
guys would help. And
It's a work.
the bike guys.
I know, that's what I was thinking. It's a work day.
Yeah.
For $2,700, do we get a money back guarantee,
So it's here. Let me see.
warranty or something?
Yeah, you get a warranty. You get and this is actually it was amended. It was originally more because they had taken the watershed from Lake Nipmuc, but that's the wrong brook. So it went down a little bit because it was a shorter pond leveler, but there's goodwill discount, I think, because the maintenance plan, we have a couple other ones, so they do all 5 of them or 3 of them on the same day. The labor is $26.25. The pipe itself is $150, and the maintenance plan is $450 for worry-free guarantee. And then they gave took off $250 for the permits and minus $200 for labor if we're able to help bring the materials out to the site. And so it's the parking would be on the Asylum Street entrance because I think that's actually shorter than, and it has more open more parking spaces than the Park Street entrance.
Wonder if Jared would help too, or Kurt.
I know. I think they both work.
Well, we could do like put out an email to,
I can send an email out to both of them tomorrow and check in.
or just maybe
But
a
if it's,
general.
they only said 2 to 4, so if one person came with me,
There's the two.
I'm just not good at carrying.
I'm a-
If it's heavy, I
Yeah,
just can't carry it. It's my
I-
back. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion that we spend that money for a Beaver Solutions.
Okay, is there a second?
I second it because I saved some beavers.
Moved and seconded to approve the estimate and schedule the work for Monday. Any further discussion? Roll call. Susan?
Susan, I.
Bye-bye.
Leah, I.
Peter, I.
Passes unanimously. Second item, discuss treatment for invasive.
sorry, you do also need to make a motion to issue the permit for the
Oh,
work.
okay. So entertain a motion to issue the emergency permit for the work to be done on Monday.
I so move, Mr. Chair, that we issue an emergency repair.
I second.
And seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call. Back to you, Susan.
Susan, I.
Bye-bye.
Leah, I.
Peter, I.
That one passes unanimously as well, so you can file the paperwork.
It's on a roll tonight. See how easy this is?
Discuss treatment for invasive phragmites.
Phragmites. Where is this? How come I don't see it?
Wigwam beaver pond. The goal here is that we do the treatment in late August, early September, because that's the best time when they're starting to get dormant, and you want to lightly reach out with a Q-tip and brush the top of the little thingies, and that kills the mites.
We have to cut them first.
Okay,
So
mow them
that-
down or whatnot.
It'll also be lower.
So the goal is to make sure that water and wetland has the paperwork from us to do the work on time. And so Isabella was looking into this. So what's your proposal on the best way to to get the paperwork through.
Well, Water and Wetland is being hired to do it, so, but they're not. The rate to do the permitting process was much higher. So the town may take on the burden to do that. I would have to file a notice of intent. I'd probably put Ann as the person filing it as the Community Preservation Act, because they got the money. But it is an estimated habitat, so there would need to be a habitat management plan and impacts. So I have to work on getting more information and building a narrative.
So are you confident you can get us proving it in time for them to do the treatment?
Yeah, I mean, MIPA has to respond within 30 days and you have to hold the hearing within 21 days. So if I get it the second meeting of July, it'd be fine for the end of August.
Okay,
Let's go for it. Let's try.
okay. All right, so that finishes the discussion of that. Let's see. I think we're now up to updates. No, because we're just directing Isabella. Pardon?
We voted to,
You did the permit too.
Second one was.
You did the permit too.
Second one was the permit.
750.
You voted for both of them. Yeah.
We just didn't read the motion off. We just said, do what Isabella just said to do. So we,
I think Peter made both of the motions.
yep.
I don't follow directions.
Okay. All right, updates, conservation agent update first. So what's on your busy schedule?
We should be expecting the town water supply on 220 Providence Street, 219, whatever, 2 something. The Woodard and Curran is moving forward with that. They should be submitting a notice of intent either the second or fourth week in July, depending on the MIPA review. They need to do the pumping test in September because that's the low period. So they'll do pump tests on all 3 of the proposed wells, and then they'll have monitors throughout the stream, throughout Muddy Brook, to monitor whether withdrawing from the well sites impacts the river at all. So that notice of intent and representative and everyone will be here to explain that sometime in July. And then,
That's for the affordable housing, right?
no, that's for the town public water supply.
Got you. Okay.
That's proposed. Yeah, I think it's 20 Providence Street. The affordable housing is 52 Providence Street, but that's been tabled for now because it wasn't possible to engineer the driveway crossing without a stormwater management plan. So rather than file the notice of intent, there was no bidders on the project anyways, so it's been tabled until we come back.
Okay.
I there was a resident on Lake Nipmuc that called me asking about beach nourishment and dock permits and asked if I would come to the next Lake Nipmuc Association meeting. And I said I would come and answer questions, but I don't know if I was gonna make a presentation. And then they sent out an email saying I was making a presentation. So I don't know if I'll have tomatoes thrown at me, but I'm doing that on the 9th. So that's,
They're a pretty supportive audience. They want to do something.
yeah. So doing that as well. But other than that, I don't have,
Test in the lake and come back good.
yeah, doing those.
Water and Wetland went out and did their treatment and everything came back nominal. The
Yeah,
amount
the
of
deal was
oxygen,
good.
the amount of oxygen was okay. They
Right, it's like
treated the
8.4.
right places.
Which is fine.
And the water monitoring, are we going to make progress on the equipment?
It's Dan and I got stuck on where we would want to put it because we don't have any sort of dock, public town dock that could really anchor a monitor, and I wouldn't want to ask in a butter if we could put it on their dock if the dock isn't permitted.
Oh,
Yeah, it would come out.
is there
like
something,
November.
I was just gonna say, is there, on the town beach, couldn't we put something there?
Yeah, but so if
Yeah,
it's
that's what I mean.
tough because we could put the sensor out in the water, but then we'd have to run the cable all the way back to the beach. And I'd be worried about kids pulling it.
Yeah, that's true.
They're, the sensor is connected to the logger and the logger is Wi-Fi. But
Couldn't we do a float somewhere? If we did the ones where it was like, you know, Bluetooth or whatever, and it could feed us information, can we just do a float out there and leave it in the middle of the lake?
Well, we could
With the
try
buoy?
and leave it there, but that's not to say teenagers wouldn't find it a nice thing to try and.
Well, could you anchor it to the bottom?
Side of the beach,
That's a lot,
just
I know.
Brampton. By the Boy Scouts, is there anywhere to log it in over there?
the public access, you mean?
Need a structure in the.
Yeah,
water.
we need something in the water to put, so that the cable can't be dead on the ground, because then it wouldn't, you need it kind of like on a, we could maybe do some sort of pole and then run the cable out.
Gets it done, I can probably help with that.
Or is there a dock at the Myriad Ballroom or at some dock that's okay where we can, I don't know.
Yeah, I needed, I didn't get it to it this week. I did want to try and,
Resource, or I should say private resource.
private docs, yeah. Yeah, but it is still on the list to get to.
That's a tough one.
Okay, Bob, do you have anything to add about the Lake Nipmuc Task Force?
I did go to the task force, or I should say not the task force. It's a Lake Nipmuc Association meeting. And for anybody interested, annual boat parade on the 4th of July at 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m. So anybody that wants to go on the lake with their paddle boats, kayaks,
AM or
whatnot,
AM?
I know, yeah,
Hey, don't you?
AM,
yeah.
Hey,
PM might be a little dangerous.
so we're doing that, and they had a couple of questions about some of the stuff that we already talked about, so please, they're on this meeting and have the answers that they're looking for.
Peter, land use, what's up with land
we
use?
didn't meet last month, so there's.
Okay. All right,
Well, Peter Denton's property, that's going forward, so that's.
Did you two receive checks?
yes, I received a check for $805. That's all of the education I got last fall. So thank you for
Reimbursement.
working with the town finance people to jigger and poker budgets before the end of the fiscal year. All right, chair updates, and this will slide into good and welfare for the commission. First, I have confirmed with the select board that they approved the reappointment of the 3 people whose terms expired. They should meet with Ellen, our town clerk, and get sworn in again. So at our next meeting, we will have elections for chair and vice chair. And we can also discuss if we want to change around our liaisons to land use, Lake Nipmuc Task Force, or any other committees. I will throw my hat in the ring I will be interested in continuing on as chair before people start having panic attacks and people are open to say whether they're interested in the other positions. The other thing we do along accompanying with the action, that particular thing is discuss policies and procedures that we would wish to adopt. The one I will, that I've done in the past is whether the chair votes or not. The WPA says that the chair gets a vote. End of discussion. Custom is that the chair doesn't vote unless to break a tie, or occasionally I'll go and vote first for something I really, really approve of. And the chair, whoever that ends up being, would then say what they believe in terms of that particular policy. I've also written up, yeah.
I'm all for that, but I do not think the chair should make a motion, nor should the chair be allowed to second a motion.
Right, well,
So
those,
it dies
Yeah.
if it
if
doesn't.
there aren't other, yes, those are things that we can discuss as part of that part of the meeting.
I would, for minutes, I haven't been saying exclusively that you don't vote. I just don't put your name on the roll call, but when it's no roll call and you're all present, I think that's a little confusing, and I don't know if I should go back and adjust the minutes to say that the chair isn't voting.
Well, but my perspective is when I say passes unanimously, you can assume that since I didn't say chair abstains, the chair voted as part of the unanimous part of the voting, even if it isn't part of the roll call. So maybe that's something else that we will clear up. I don't want to go back and amend lots and lots of minutes just because it's unanimous. It doesn't matter whether I participated in the vote or not. Absent any legal challenges, I guess. So we'll try fitting that in over the next couple of meetings and have a discussion. I've written up a draft of a site visit policy, which is what I was talking with you about last week and with Isabella, basically that on a site walk, requests that we are making to the property owner and their staff would be funneled through Isabella, and then Isabella would consolidate them all. And that prevents having 3 or 4 people on the sidewalk saying, I want to know about this and tell me about this, that we work them all together. So we will have a discussion of that as well. Another thing, 23 Cape Road is, looks like they're going to be getting into business. One of the issues is that we have an outstanding, we're waiting for them to come back with a mitigation plan to go and haul the muck out of the wetlands. One of the things we will need to do is contact the project manager and say, who owns the property? And make sure the property owner knows that we're still waiting for them. And
Well, the order of conditions is for Blue Water, so no matter what, any enforcement would be on Blue Water, so it doesn't matter who the actual property owner
okay,
is.
well, this is the sort of thing that I didn't know about last year when we were doing all of this. Blue Water is going to be as complex as 4549 Uxbridge for the same reason. We do not have a robust order of conditions. That we did go through the approval process, and
Yeah, but I mean, Blue Water is a big developer, so I'm not
Yes.
as concerned.
no, and they have very good technical staff. The question is whether we need to peer review anything they tell us, because we need to find out what their basis for their proposals are. What we did last spring is the site issues that we had in terms of stormwater management and changing filters and whatnot were incorporated in the maintenance and operation plan that the planning board approved. So we passed along to the planning board all of the concerns we had after there's a major storm event. What's the reporting? How frequently do the stormwater filters get fixed? So that was rolled into that.
Well, the stormwater management plan gets approved by Concom too, and the operation management plan is part of that, so.
Yes, and rather than us having special conditions as part of our approval of the stormwater, we said, we're tossing it over to the planning board and their staff. But now that we have you, I'm expecting that we will have a much better way of monitoring activity on the site for the part of the site that is of concern, jurisdictional for the Concom. Okay.
Well, just to clarify with you, Carl, I was planning to follow up, or are you doing it?
If you could follow up with the person who sent the email saying, are you aware that there's a concern about cleaning out the muck? And if not, we need to have a conversation about it.
Hopefully they knew about that.
Not to muddy this conversation up, but, is anything going to be addressed about the soccer field and solar field and the water that comes down, or? Isn't that supposed to be incorporated into the plan, for planning board?
Now that Blue Water is actively working on the site, their engineers may be interested in working with the town on ensuring that their stormwater from other adjacent parcels doesn't come onto their site. The current owner, the Abe, the current owner, I don't know if he's still the owner now, was not interested in that kind of activity. We will find out from the new Blue Water project manager what they are interested in doing about the fact that a whole lot of stormwater is coming onto their site. If they want to handle it, then they'll continue to handle it.
They have to, because it comes downstream, so they'll just have to manage.
They have to manage it, and they will decide if they want to start speaking with the upstream stormwater people to say, keep your stormwater from coming onto my property.
And it's also an issue whether the downstream neighbor wants to
That's-
take it to the next level and say, you guys are impacting me, so that's.
Yep. So those are, I believe those are the things that I remember. Anyone other, good and welfare of the commission, anything else people want to bring up or ask that Isabella look into, or?
Oh, question. It's for planning board, nothing here.
Okay,
It was about septic system and how close it can be to the road. It's planning board.
Board of Health.
Board of Health.
Okay,
To adjourn?
nope.
No.
We have an agenda to, we have minutes to
Sure.
approve. Agenda item 17. You and, okay, go ahead.
I make a motion to approve the minutes for June 13th, 2024, as drafted by the agent.
Is there a second?
Second.
I reviewed the minutes.
I did too.
There's a really fun part. P. Coffin asks a series of questions. Very diplomatic language you have there.
Well, actually, back to just discussion, is there, just with summer, and is there any, doubt of getting a quorum for any month or?
Do we go
anything?
once in August? It's how busy we are, right? It looks like we're pretty
We're
busy
busy.
here. Yeah.
I might not be able to attend the second August meeting. I might be away.
Well, on that, during our meeting on the second Thursday of August, we will check people's availability and maybe we either cancel the meeting or we shift it a week. Well, we can decide that at the time. All right, so I need a vote. Susan, are you still there?
She said BRB.
Okay, so she will be abstaining. Bob,
What are we eyeing?
approving the minutes.
Oh,
The motion.
okay.
You
Aye.
made the motion.
Well, then you talked for a bit and then I forgot.
Peter, I.
All right, motion passes with one abstention. All right, now I can hear that. Most
Motion
blessed
to
of
adjourn?
moments. Is there a second?
Second,
Okay,
this meeting didn't. go
Aye,
on.
aye.
Aye, Leah, aye.
okay.
I thought this meeting was gonna
See
be
you
long.
next week.
Yeah, we moved. Oh my God, I have to stand up.
Hold on, wait until the recording gets stopped.
I need signatures too.
Yep, we have.
Oh,